Hi there. This time I'd like to say a few words about Armistice Day. Now, it is a holiday that is celebrated on the 11th day of the 11th month of the year. You're thinking about that. These days they call it Veterans Day. But it started out exactly 100 years ago as a celebration called Armistice Day. You see, the day commemorates an armistice. That was an agreement between a bunch of colonial European nations, and what they agreed to was that it was time to conclude a little exercise in slaughter, which I call the war among Queen Victoria's grandchildren. Now, Woodrow Wilson, who by the way was both a horrible racist but also a wonderful progressive internationalist, called the conflict the war to end all wars. Now that was a brilliant exercise in rebranding. And it actually could have started a whole new and very hopeful trend in world history. But then, as now, a group of reactionary Republican United States senators put their ill-conceived short-term interests ahead of the good of all mankind. So the emerging imperial power, the United States, declined to join in the effort that its leader had inaugurated. And well, if you don't follow all that I've said, don't try to decipher it. The simple fact is that 100 years ago, our ancestors had a chance to change the way humans interact on this planet and to initiate a period of peaceful internationalism. And in celebration of that optimistic moment in world history, at the end of a horrific episode of hatred, they declared a holiday and called it Armistice Day. Now, in less than 2 decades, the armistice fell apart, nationalism re-emerged, and war once again began to envelop the whole world. So they changed the name of the holiday. Instead of celebrating the peaceful agreements which had brought an end to the slaughter, they started to celebrate the slaughter itself. Now, a holiday glorifying slaughter would be a difficult proposition to sell to even the most rabidly nationalistic citizens, so instead they named the holiday after the primary victims of the slaughter, the soldiers themselves. But the key difference is that Armistice Day was a celebration of the end of war, of peace, and hope for its continuation. Veterans Day, you gotta admit, is the glorification of war. By celebrating soldiers, the most immediate victims of war, it is designed to actually encourage young men and women to willingly sacrifice their lives in the interests of empire and internation conflict. Now, believe me, I have nothing against veterans, and I certainly do not blame them for the fact that the war to end all wars did not indeed accomplish its objective, did not bring us peace. As Phil Oakes reminds us, it is always the old who lead us to the wars, and always the young who fall. So, I don't blame the soldiers, but I do blame our leaders, and I do blame their owners, the corporations and aristocracies who these days control our government. Now, not all of those corporations and aristocracies are warmongers, but many of them are. We have had two presidents of the United States who prior to their presidencies were very successful commanders of our armies in major and mostly just conflicts. George Washington and Dwight David Eisenhower. And the interesting thing is that both of them, in their final messages to us as president, warned that standing armies and permanent war-making industrial establishments are bad ideas. Both of them understood only too well the danger of warfare, not only to the lives of young citizens, but also to our very democracy. So, on this 100th anniversary of Armistice Day, I recommend we return to the original intention of the holiday. Instead of celebrating war, I am advocating for peace. Instead of perpetuating conflict between combative nation states, let us all declare an armistice. Instead of fomenting hatred and fear that encourages us to fight each other, let's recognize that there is no us or them. There is only we. And we are all in this together. Instead of fighting amongst ourselves for trumped-up reasons, let's cooperate in an effort to fight against the enemies of all humanity and all Earth life, poverty, famine, global warming, and all the other impediments to a better life and expansion of human rights for all humanity. And in that spirit, I wish y'all a very happy 100th Armistice Day.